what is your qualification career and how was your journey?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm so honored and delighted, and I'm so blessed to get the opportunity to be part of this wonderful event, first of all. And I would like to express my wholehearted gratitude to the team of IIID who believed in me in spite of all the constraints I had and gave me this opportunity to come here and do something which I could actually do and showcase here in Hyderabad. I'm so thankful to you.
That's very humble word, sir. Actually, I myself also had an opportunity to participate in the workshop. You made us touch the tools and the wood and the hammer after long years of gap. I think we would have done this in the college or later in some small workshops. Offhand, after so many years, again touching the wood and making the bird house was a very good experience to us. So. Coming back to the your work, could you tell us something about your work and what are the recent works that you are into?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. You asked me. First of all, I would introduce myself. I'm an architect from Government College of Architecture, Lucknow, and then I did my post-graduation from SEPT, Ahmedabad in construction management. Working in this institute actually sensitized me right from day one towards the environment, and I had been working a lot with renewable energies and energy conservation and conservation architect since my college days. So that's how my journey with this kind of sustainable model has started. And then I came across doing prefabricated buildings. And in the year around 2000, I came across a project where I had this challenge of making a wooden house. And that's why the whole turning point came in my life, and my whole focus went from conventional buildings and prefabricated models in various formats to wood as an architectural system and building system. I realized we as an architects are actually criminals because when we build, we destroy. We destroy the environment, we cut the trees, we uproot the nature, and we disturb the whole ecosystem around us. And we establish that we are doing development and we are building smart cities. So as an architect, there was this contradiction always in my mind because I saw this nature being damaged by conventional buildings. The water, the amount of water that is being wasted, the amount of resources that are being hampered. So that is where this connects with wood starting shaping my whole career. And I came across a few projects doing like this, faced all kinds of challenges in making people realize that how wood can be the material and a sustainable alternative to construction. So I think that is how I started this wood thing.
That's a really detailed experience and expertise that you have got. And your passion towards environmental sustainability from your talk points would definitely make a strong impression on the young minds. You've been guiding the students for all these 10 days, and eventually, as you said, rightly said, we are destroying the environment where we are actually working with or building the buildings and calling it as development. So somewhere I think your contribution today makes everybody realize that wood should be also a major part of the construction. And then as you said, we are actually overutilizing the resources, the building materials and building resources. Otherwise, actually, even I have a beautiful point there. those physical resources, they translate into life through plants and the ecosystem, and then they have every opportunity to become a life. So whereas we are blocking them into the buildings, like if you say iron, so iron can be part of the life actually, but we are translating iron into steel and building buildings actually. Otherwise, if it is consumed by the nature, in the sense if plants grow with iron, they bring life into iron and it becomes a life-giving molecule. So I am deeply connected with your sentences there. And then coming back, sometimes with a deeper perspective, we can more rely on these materials which are naturally grown. I can grow tree, I can grow the wood, but I can't grow other resources. So, as you rightly said, so what is the future course of construction activity in terms of using this typology of construction, wood especially? So, what do you guide or what is your suggestion?
Number one, sustainability has become the necessity of us, but still sustainability as a terminology is being used as a fashionable sentence in almost anything that we are doing or trying to do. And sustainability as a jargon has been complicated by people who are using it as a fashionable terminology or a typology. I think sustainability, number one, is very simple. Sustainability is, as human beings, if we are taking something from the nature, we have to give it back to the nature. And that's the whole model of sustainability. So, for example, if we are taking oxygen from the nature, we have to give oxygen back to the nature. If we are consuming water for our livelihood, it's our responsibility to manage and save that water which we are consuming. If we are consuming any resources from nature, we should be able to replenish them and replace them in the environmental context. So wood is the only material in construction which has all the qualities of being the right material for structural system, for aesthetical system, for any kind of usage. And it has the flexibility of being regenerated, replenished, and recycled at the same time.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point there, sir. I think the death of materials is what I would put it as. The material also should die gracefully, in the sense it should get absorbed into the nature once it finishes its life cycle. So it should not be blocked in some kind of physicality.
Yeah.
So as you rightly said, wood is a material where it is coming out of nature. It's growing on the trees, and then once you utilize it, and then it has a life cycle, and it can safely get back to the nature, giving back to the nature. The water goes into water, the fibers go into the soil, the air goes into the air. So that's a wonderful, insight what you have brought. And then, actually, necessity also is mother of invention, is what we are all taught with. So maybe we should somewhere draw the line where we should use all these advanced materials, just not blindly getting back to those engineered materials. Maybe, as you rightly said, we can discriminate between homes and other institutional buildings, or some places where they require highly sanitized spaces and all. Maybe there concrete and this becomes a solution, and for habitable places and units. So I think that's a balanced approach that we should take, is what I feel. What do you comment on that?
That we should have a kind of a very balanced ideation towards whenever we build any kind of project. So I would term it as, instead of making buildings which are part of the urban fabric and the smart cities, as you call them, I think instead of building them, we should grow buildings that are part of the nature, they are part of the habitat, and they are part of the human settlement. Either in the other terminology, you make them part of the urban fabric, right?
Yes.
Instead of connecting it to the urban fabric, let it connect them to the human settlement, the human social fabric, and the human society at large. And they become the part of the nature rather than becoming part of the smart cities
Yes,
as we serve them. So I think the whole approach of development should be making buildings and development which are part of the natural system
Right.
rather than they becoming the part of the smart city and the urban development. Like I'm coming from Bangalore to this place, and suddenly the whole thing changes.
Changes, yes.
When you get off from that expressway.
Airport to...
And suddenly you start seeing those tall buildings and those glass roofs and everything. Look, in a flip of a second, the whole typology of the nature changes from green expressway to field and all. So that's the kind of mindset I think needs to be reformed by the architects. And architects are the people who can actually realize it and do it in a larger way.
Yeah, true. Architects can bring the change in the society for sure. There's no doubt in that. But the journey is also a little tough when you choose the offbeat path. So, and coming back, I always feel the materials have evolved out of necessity and then out of threat. So these perishable materials have also got a vulnerability, like people. If there is no camaraderie or communal peace among the people, population as such, that means human mind should be in peace with the others. Unless then these materials become vulnerable, like somebody who is angry on you, on the neighbor, or on somebody's house, they can actually destroy their homes or something like that. So that's where these materials have evolved, is what I understand. But I think, as you rightly said, I think the human thought process versus the usage of materials, what comes first? So it is a cyclic way of looking at things. Maybe one should become more quiet and accommodative to also live quietly with nature, is what I feel. If you can give some input on that.
Yes, sir.
Mike.
You said that the necessity is the mother of invention. So if you see the kind of phases the construction has evolved from past centuries, so we saw Stone Age, and then we saw brick when the Industrial Revolution came in. So the brick was evolved. And then came steel, and somebody made Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower actually symbolized going the vertical development, and that's where you started seeing the high rises coming up. And in Industrial Revolution, the whole mindset and the process became so focused that everybody wanted to come to the urban areas and do these kind of things until 2000, that we realized that because of Industrial Revolution and the kind of development that we did in the last 100 years actually disturbed and destroyed our natural resources and nature in a very big way. The change that happened in the last 100 years didn't happen in the last 10,000 years in the natural environment. So it is only in around 2000 that we, as architects and professionals, we realize this thing. And now it is too late for us to actually do the collective process in this summit.
Yes.
So we have to now focus on materials that have a lesser carbon footprint, which are more recyclable, replenishable, and reusable, and address our necessities. And more than addressing our necessities, it is very important to bring down our necessities, and we should focus on creating less resources and less, we should be able to live in the minimalistic terms, and that is how we will be able to save the nature. And I think COVID was a very good example for all of us to have changes and realize how the nature is disturbed and how nature can revamp itself
Yes,
if
yes.
corrective measures are taken timely, sir.
That's a wonderful point, sir. You brought COVID in, and then I was in association with a stem cell research scientist who is one of the beautiful minds of the century. And then we were talking on several issues like what is architecture and what is life. So, life in coordination with architecture, how are we actually evolving in the due course of life? So, yeah, the comment which came on the high rise buildings actually is. It's not a time-tested model, is what I came to know, because you're living anti-gravity, every day of your life. So there is no impact study on what is the impact on the human family that is living for 70, 80 years against the gravity. So and then the plumbing systems, the common amenities that we use, like if you are in group housing, which are high-rise and all. So maintaining the sanitation or hygiene is quite impossible. So again, I cannot promote independent houses because land is a very definite commodity that it is not an expandable commodity there. So where is the line of balance when it comes to that dialogue? It is about each individual feeling that responsible that they should not own too much of land, in the sense they should not buy plots and plots for their generations together. So whatever you want to buy, you buy for yourself maximum to another your children, or one plot for your children. So otherwise the entire land bank remains with only certain few people, and then it becomes barren because they're not anyway maintaining it. It is just a real estate property for the appreciation. So these are also the important things. If I look at the Hyderabad, IRR or ORR, today everything is plotted development, and all these plots are bought by people, reserved for their future, but nothing, it is all barren. They don't grow trees or they don't do anything about it. But it is just the real estate property it is. And then I think here architects together should play some important role, say that the necessity of maintaining a empty plot is to plant trees. They should maintain certain number of trees per 200 square yards or 300 square yards. What is your opinion on this?
You actually hit a very important point which needs a lot of deliberation and legal overview, right? In India, we have a very complex situation where cutting tree is a crime. So when you have an empty plot available to you, and if I ask you to plant number of trees on the empty plot, nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants to plant a tree in the other's land, not in their own land, right?
True, sir.
And this is a very kind of a critical and a
Typical
very
psychology.
tricky situation.
Yeah.
That you want to plant trees, but you don't want to plant them in your own place, because the moment you think about development of the land, you will get lost if the trees are there. So there is a lot of deliberation and lot of discussion needs to happen on this format where you are able to grow trees and use the trees. And that legal framework has to change in India.
And one young architectural team is coming with this idea, sir, that we will maintain plantation of your empty vacant real estate property.
Yeah.
So they would do the plantation and maintain it, and then they would give some certification for doing that, like negative carbon credits kind of thing. If that comes into real existence, and if there is a government support on this, I think it will become a phenomenon that would encourage the plot owners also to take up this, because the young generation, next generation would curse us in future that our ancestors have managed this their life very unorganized and recklessly. So we don't have, they created enough pollution and depleted resources is what we would hear. Is that what I feel? What is your opinion on that?
Coming back to this, before this, the point that you made of going vertical, right? when we went vertical, we absolutely lost the connect of being green while going vertical, right? And that is where a new concept which we start hearing now as biophilic architecture. Biophilic architecture. So I think biophilic architecture and going vertical with green is something which is the absolute need of the hour, because land, as you said, is a very limited resource.
Yes.
And we should be able to not cut down more land and disturb the nature. And the way our population is expanding from 100 crores to 150 crores in the last 15 and 20 years itself is a big alarming situation for our country. So that is one thing, that we need to go vertical, but we need to go in a very environmental, balanced, and in a biophilic situation, number one. Number two, the resources that we utilize has to be minimized, and minimum amount of construction.
Actually, sorry to cut you in between. Actually, I was discussing to the evolutionary biologist these aspects. So where we architects talk about biophilic architecture in the high-rise buildings and bringing greenery into the buildings. So she was very against it. She was saying, how can you take the tree along with you to the rooftop? It is, you are actually, replacing its habitat. So in this absence of these qualities, and human habitation is now climbing vertical. So in the due course, there are so many other factors that we don't understand, because biological processes, survival of the fittest, we feel today in the environment that we are fighting for opportunities and making more breadwinning approach. But survival of the fittest in the natural phenomenon is not about that. That, like you rightly said, when COVID happened, so are humans able to stand tall against the microorganism? No, it is not, because the wide range of population was susceptible. Even though it comes to you, it should not harm you, because your system should be resilient to neutralize it. So that means your systems are not resilient to take the COVID impact. So that's why the collapse is happening. That means you're the host. A host is submitting to the pathogen. So these were the conversations we had. And then I was asking on what is the future course of architecture that should accommodate these kind of things so that it becomes a lifestyle. So, and we had a very wonderful conversation that one should be educated on approach of living, in the sense, how do you live minimally without intervention into harmful toxins, as well as your minimal interference with the pathogens. So it should be a lifestyle so that your immune system remains robust. So everyday abuse of immune system creates resources depletion for one day for the tough fight. So people say that, you play in the garbage, you drink whatever, you eat whatever, you will develop resistance. This is not resistance actually, it is succumbing to the toxins, and you are hosting them. Without knowing, you will be hosting. As you and I know, the water channels were first, the sanitation and water channels were there in Indus Valley as well as Roman and Greek civilizations. That's where the cities started growing and the entire population started congregating, and cities started expanding. So I think fundamentally water channelizing was a very important decision that humans took, engineering in water, as well as the sanitation. So how do we handle our drainage and garbage? So these are the two things that pushed us to live in a wider and larger groups.
First of all, your point on where there is a contradiction to everything, that whatever is happening. For example, you said that there are contradictions of people who are saying that when you go vertical, you are going against gravity. And if you see any of the multi-story building, and if you see if they are left unattended, even on the topmost floor, you will see the moss and the plants started growing even on the topmost terraces and slopes. You can see
Yes.
a people tree growing
Yes.
without even a seed and something. So nature is something which is very adaptable to human civilization, and humans are not adaptable to nature,
Yes,
but
yes.
nature is obviously very adaptable to human civilization and settlement, right? As the human civilization has grown, nature has adapted himself to the human needs and requirements. And COVID is a very good example right in front of us, where absolutely everything was destroyed and everything came back to its natural form and stability in just 60 days. Everything came
Yeah,
back.
after 2 years of pause, everything started.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Which was unimaginable.
Yes, yes.
If never,
You
no
saw birds
scientists,
coming back, the dolphins coming back, and
yeah, no scientists,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
research,
Yes.
nothing could have predicted this thing.
Yeah.
But it actually happened while the COVID happened. So I don't buy that contradiction where taking trees to the higher will actually impact the natural system. But I'm only concerned about being more sensitive towards nature. Construction as an activity. Most of us as learned professionals and learned engineers and architects don't realize that construction accounts for more than 50% of the carbon footprint.
True.
Of the total carbon footprint.
True.
And still we are using concrete and steel and other materials which have a very high carbon footprint. Wood, on the other hand, is the only material that absorbs carbon dioxide. And you will be amazed, I'm sure, that if you replace 1 meter cube of concrete by wood, you almost show 1 ton of carbon dioxide in the format of wood. That is where this kind of a difference you can create, and that is why I say instead of making buildings, you should grow buildings. When
Yes.
you grow buildings, you lock carbon dioxide, you lock this carbon dioxide in this building format, and you give space to the new trees who can emerge and absorb more carbon dioxide. And that is where the whole ecosystem can come
is-
back to
yes,
it,
yes.
at least not the novel, but at least to a savior format.
Right, sir.
So, coming back to the plumbing, sanitation, and the other service issue, I think the technological interaction and the technology replacement of in these services is going to take care of a lot of issues that pertains to the handling of these services in the vertical format. Has been not the technological advancement. I'm sure this would have been a challenge, but the kind of automation system, the kind of plumbing technology that has evolved in the last 20 years' time is absolutely addressing the needs and the requirements of the today's development process.
Rightly said, sir. I think that was wonderful talking to you, and it's an honor that you're here and guiding our fraternity as well as the students, that you made this pavilion possible for us with all your hard work and creativity. I think we would invite you to such platforms more, and then we request you for giving us time, and we heartfully thank you for all the time that you have given to us. So wonderful interaction with you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Before I end, the only last thing I want to thank IIID on this thing, on the initiative where a professional platform integrating with the industry at large have come up with such kind of initiative
Yes, sir.
where this sensitization of the professionals, the students, the industry, and the society can be can happen on a platform where this sensitive issue of environment and development and saving our nature goes into the people's mindsets and they start relating to it. And that is where the whole initiative of making this pavilion,
Yes, sir.
sensitizing people for natural taking care of the nature, and the way the workshop was designed was that while building we are cutting down so many trees
Right.
and we are disturbing our ecosystem. So I think that ecosystem, those creatures have a place for themselves which we have disturbed, and we should take initiative in actually creating habitats for these kind of small creatures and small ecosystem initiatives should be taken, and as well along with the development of the buildings that we are doing. So I think with that kind of a message, I would like to thank IIID.
We thank you, sir. We humbly
your whole
thank you.
team.
And myself, representing IIID MC, I sincerely thank you for all the time and your insights. That's a wonderful suggestion and guidance for us. I think this is a democratic platform where, even though it is sponsored by all the industry, so we are having such a dialogue, even though sometimes it is contrary to whatever is happening, but it is a democratic approach where it bridges the gap between the youngsters and the decision makers and the designers. So I don't think such thing happens in any commercial event. So that's where I'm very happy being part of this organization and giving my time and their time. So it brings beauty in all of us. So thanks for your, once more, I humbly thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and being your.
I'm
being
humbled
here.
and blessed, and I really thank you. All my gratitude and heartfelt feelings for IIID, for Hyderabad, and for everyone, the kind of response, the kind of love that I received in the last 15 days' time is something phenomenal, and I am going to take it back for a long time in my memory. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Has guided our students on origami and its application, sensitizing them its application for in various aspects of design.